Jim. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. No, come on, we can do better than that. Good afternoon, everybody. You are going to get out of this. You're going to be here till what? 2:30, 3 o'clock. You're going to get out of this exactly what you want. And we've got people who have come from certain support centers and halfway houses for young people as well as for women. Let's just give an acknowledgement to them for being here. Guys that are at the back deck, I've forgotten now what place were you from? What place were you from? Paul House. Do me a favor, guys, because we've got a beautiful place for Paul House. Would you mind just coming up a bit? I want you near the front for me. Paul House, come on. That's just the most beautiful. Being that beautiful. Come on, Josh. Lead the way, Josh. Come on. Come on now. We got a friend there with a red hat. We got a guy with a red hat. That's the nicest red hat I've seen all day. I'll tell you what, if you want to sell that hat to me, I'll buy that hat from you afterward. That is a red hat. I tell you. Come on, it's saved for you. The Paul House table. Came in, we polished the table. We thought this is the place for the Paul House people. We knew right away. Yeah. And that's and by the way, I say this here. This is free for you. I get nothing from this from you. All I ask from you is for you to be able to enjoy this afternoon. And if you start to get tired, and some people have a low concentration. You know, I'm from Los Angeles. Some of the treatment centers I work at are different than yours. Some of you know actors like Johnny Depp. Some of you know people like Sir Anthony Hopkins. Some of you know these people like Jamie Lee Curtis, who was in Halloween. They're the people that I spend a lot of time with when I'm in Los Angeles doing treatment. This is the point, though. Whether it's a Johnny Depp, or whether it's a Sir Anthony Hopkins, or whether it's Jack, it's all the same. It's all the pain's the same. The mess is the same. Doesn't make any difference who you are. Doesn't matter how rich you are. Doesn't matter how good looking you are. The bottom line with it is that addiction is addiction is addiction. And what we've got to do is to figure out a way. And 22 years ago, especially want these guys to hear it, 22 years ago, I got sober. 22 years ago. But here's the point. Thank you very much. That's a nice thing for you to do. You're the kind of person I'd like to take on a cruise. With me. Okay? Here's the bottom line. I had a bicycle. I had 2 pair of pants. I had a jacket. Period. That's it. I'd never been outside of the United Kingdom. I lived in London. Never been outside of that place. In 22 years, there's very few countries. I've been to Africa. I've been to Asia. That's why I knew, especially Korea. I think the counselor, where's the counselor from Korea? Where is he? Where's he gone? Disappeared. He's gone to Korea. Gone back to Korea. Here he is. I'm talking about Seoul. I'm talking about Seoul, Korea. You from Seoul? He's from Seoul. Very good. Sit down and shake your hand. He's the counselor. He's not come all the way from Seoul for this, have you? Did you come all the way from Korea for this? Did you fly all the way from Korea for this special meeting? Oh, all the way from Korea. What am I saying? This is what I'm saying. I've been to Korea. This is the point. Been to Africa. Been to India. Been to Asia. Been to Germany. It took me a long time. China, every year. Why am I saying this to you? Why I'm saying this to you is, it doesn't make any difference where you go. The message is the same. Let's say it together, because, and if you've got a pen and, I'm only sorry you've not got pen and paper to go with your cake. Because if you've got pen and paper, you can write stuff down that's going to make a difference. Here we go. You keep doing the same things, you'll keep getting the same results. Say it with me. Now let's say it with a little bit more enthusiasm, because you sound Episcopalian. I want some more zip with it, okay? You keep... Same result. By the way, if you don't know, this stuff's plastic. It's made of the same stuff, you know, the stuff you clean your toilets with? It's made, I'm serious, made by the same company. Going to put it here. It's going to be watching you. Okay, it's watching you. So if you get bored, just have a look. Don't touch it, otherwise you'll change into a frog. I was on my way. This is a true story. Some stories I tell are not true. This is a true story. Some stories I tell are not true. I was going to Indonesia. Where was I going? Indonesia. I was going to give a talk in Indonesia. It's a true story. I was going to a place called Bali, B-A-L-I, in Indonesia. It's an island in Indonesia called Bali. Bali. And I'm going to Bali in Indonesia, and I live in Los Angeles, so I go to Los Angeles Airport, and I go, and I've got my ticket, and I got my passport, and they look at my ticket, and they look at my passport, and this is what the lady at Delta says. She says, Father Leo, you can't go to Bali with your passport. I said, why? Because it's an English passport? She says, no, you've only got 4 months on your passport. I said, well, 4 months is 4 months. I've got 4 months before it runs out. She says, you need 6. If you're going to some foreign countries like Indonesia or Thailand, you need 6 months showing. I said, I didn't know. They said, well, we're sorry. So I said, well, what can I do? I'm here at the airport. I've bought a ticket to go to Bali. They said, we stop in Singapore. As you know, Singapore used to be a British, protectorate. I said, what? She said, you stop in Singapore, you go to the British Embassy and get your passport stamped. I said, how long will it take to get it stamped? She said, maybe 4 days. Now I've lost my serenity. I said 4 days. I've got to be in Indonesia. She says, we're sorry. They won't let you in. So I'm sitting on the aeroplane, Delta. I'm sitting business class because I fly business class. I fly so much. I'm sitting. And a lady goes to the toilet. I'm sitting here and the toilet's here. She goes to the toilet. Well, that happens. But when she came out of the toilet, I noticed that her skirt was caught in her underwear. It's a true story. And I went, wow. And then I thought, shall I follow and try to pull it out? Better not. It's a true story. So I followed her, We were in the air. I followed her. I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Your skirt is in your underwear." She says, "I hate it when I do that." I says, well, you just pull it out. So she says, "I'm very grateful to you." She says, where do you come from?" I said, "London." She said, "So do I." I said, "You're English?" She says, "Yes." She says, "But I live in Singapore." I says, "Wonderful." I says, "What do you do?" She says, "I work at the British Passport Department." Can you believe that? I'm serious. With one day, her name was Mrs. Jennings. Within one day, I had my passport stamped, and I was on my way to Bali. Now, you just said it. His name is Josh. He says God works in mysterious ways. But you remember, I followed her. What were the 2 words I said to her? Excuse me. What did I say? What did I say? If I hadn't said excuse me, I never would. In fact, if I hadn't followed her and said I never would have known. I would never have met that woman. So Josh is saying God works in mysterious ways, but let me tell you something, you've got to do something. Now, excuse me. You know why there are so many people still drunk today? It's because they've not said. Do you know why there are so many people still poor? They've got no money. They're not going on any cruise. They're not going to China. You know why? It's because they've not said. You know, there are so many people waking up in some miserable apartment with a wife or a husband that's a mess. You know why? It's because they've not said, excuse me, is when you not just wait for God, but when you place your hand in the hand of God. You know that we got Afro-Americans in this room. When I was a student at Oxford, you know, I went to Oxford in England. When I was a student, I read Martin Luther King. Now, I did not know him, never met him. I knew nothing about him. Okay? And then I started reading before he was shot. Remember what I said about excuse me. If you want to know what Martin Luther King says, and every Afro-American in this room should be listening now, when he preached his sermon before he was shot, he's the great saint, not of black people, but of so many people. You know what he turned around and said? He said to his congregation, you need not only pray. It's time to march. You need not only pray. How long have you been praying? 200 years? The time has come for you to march. I told you last night, those of you who were here last night, I told you my mother's 88. She still lives outside of London. My mother was a suffragette. You want to know what that is? That means a woman who fought hard for women's rights. She chained herself with other women to the bars of the Houses of Parliament in England because she wanted women to have the vote. She wanted women to have equal pay. She wanted women to have the rights that men do. And you know who spit upon her? You know the people who spit upon her are the women. Now, if you want to change this world, you want to really change this world, you've got to be prepared to say, excuse me. I wish. How old are you? What's your name? Mike. Mike, 15. It's 15 Mike. I tell you something, Mike. I wish, I'm serious now, he's listening here, I wish I'd heard somebody say to me what I'm saying to you when I was 15. It would have saved me a lot of time. I never heard this from any priest. I heard from a priest, go to church, say your prayers, go to Mass. I'm not saying that to you, and I'm not saying that to any of you. I'm saying, have you said excuse me in your life? You want something, then you be free. I won't give any book free. I wouldn't do it out of respect to you. Some guy came to me last night, said, I got no money. Can I have a book free? I says, no. He said, what, you mean no? I said, no. N-O. No. And then he says, why? I said, because I respect you. What you get free, you very rarely respect or value. By the way, that same man smokes. Yeah, if you can afford cigarettes today, you can afford to buy a book. If you can smoke cigarettes today, you can afford to buy a tape. I tell you the truth. Excuse me, we're going to talk about relapse. Relapse is when you keep going back doing the same things. I don't care which way you put it. If you're an alcoholic and you know you're an alcoholic, and if, by the way, if you don't know that you're an alcoholic, you're not going to stop. So we're all wasting our time. Anybody here who says, I don't know that I'm an alcoholic, all you do is you set yourself up to drink again. Why we waste time with that? But if you know you're an alcoholic, or you know you're a drug addict, or you know that your life's a mess, then if you've got any smarts about you, you're going to start to say, I need to change. I don't care how good Paul House is. That's not the way to live. What's your house? I don't care how good Next Step is. That's not the way to live. Not forever. And I say this to anyone who's here. You heard Walter. I had a meal with Walter. I had breakfast with Walter today. By the way, he paid. I love Walter. I tell you, just love Walter. But did you hear what Walter said? I mean, did you? I'm listening here, and this is Walter, and he said that when he was high, and when he was drunk, he put a pillow over his kids. Now I tell you, if you don't know what the first step is, you start to tell me the first step now. Anybody at Paul House, what's the first step? We admit it. No, not to God. That's the catechism. Give a hand to Josh. Now, I'm telling you, you don't know the first step. We haven't even begun. If you said to me, what do I need? Do I need to learn the Lord's Prayer? Hey, forget the Lord's Prayer. Just forget it. Do I have to know the Serenity Prayer? God grant me forget it. And don't hit me with the Hail Mary. That's the last thing I need to hear. I'll tell you what you need to say to me. If you're an alcoholic or a drug addict. If you're not, get on with your life. If you're not, get on with your life. But if you are, first step, we admit it. Come on, all of us. We admit it. We are powerless. And our lives. I'm telling you the truth. This is no way to live. At 15 years of age, coming together in a group. You talk about unmanageability. No way to live, ladies. No way to live. You should be out with your kids, with your wife, with your husband, with your friends. That's the way to live. But what you're doing now is you're doing an intervention on you. Maybe you get it. Maybe in Paul House 2 or 3 people get it. And those who do not get it are doomed to repeat it. Now what you don't know is Sir Anthony Hopkins, who played in the Silence of the Lambs, he's in Florence. There's a new movie based on Dr. Hannibal Lecter that's called Hannibal. And it's based in Florence. That's why he was not at the meeting I was at 2 weeks ago. The meeting he's at, the ladies will be interested in. Sir Anthony Hopkins and myself are connected with a woman's house in Los Angeles for alcoholics and drug addicts. Okay? And this is the bottom line. You go and you see people who have been beaten up. You see people who have been raped. You see people who have been messed about. It's the lives of men. Anything from 17 years of age to 35, 40. That's no way to live. Okay? And I go also to jails, and I see guys 16 years of age. They're not in Paul House. They're not in some kind of home. They're in jail. And as big as they are, because some of them work out, as big as they are, they're all saying to me, Father Leo, you got some play with the jail? One time in prison, can you get me out? I can't get you out. I can't get you out. You see, once the procedure's in place, it's like, you know, some of you have been stopped by a policeman for speeding. Once he writes the ticket, he can't, it doesn't matter if he knows you. Once it's written out, once the procedure's written out, you have to see it through. Now, don't be stupid. It's no way to live. And I'll tell you the way to live. For 22 years, I've been living it. And that is, I don't know, I'll tell you, I've not the slightest idea how much money I have. I have not the slightest idea of, there's no place that I can't go to. There's no place that I cannot go to. I want to go and have a vacation in Korea, which is a beautiful country to visit. I tell you, I can go to Korea. Some of you have already seen, I'm taking Americans to China. That's China. That's the forbidden city that you saw in the last emperor. You're going to be in Tiananmen Square looking at the same Mao picture that you see when you saw the photographs of Beijing. I'm talking about going to Russia. I'm talking about going to Yugoslavia, Paris, France. That's the way to live. Not to be wondering, have you got enough money for a shirt or pants or your kids' food. That's no way to live. And I know why, and this is everybody here. I know why you got nothing. Not because you're stupid. Not because you've got no imagination. Some of you have got great imaginations. It's because of two things. One is called drugs, and the other one is called alcohol. And you don't have to take it. But if you think you have to take it, you're doomed to take it. But then how do you explain me? How do you explain Walter? How many people in this room have not had any drugs or alcohol for a year? Put your hands up. Put your hands up. You look around this room. These are ordinary people. You don't ever tell me that you can't change. All relapse is a cycle. Because you don't know any better. So you hang, it's like people who use bad language. You don't use bad language. There's no excuse for a recovering person saying, son of a bitch. That's not recovering language. There's no excuse for somebody, anybody, turning round and referring to some motherfucker. That's not the speech. That's the speech of a drug addict. That's the speech of an alcoholic. If you are in recovery, you clean up your language. And you show respect. And if you can't show respect, you don't need to be here. Go with other people. Nobody, as far as I know, is forced to be here. Go. Why would I want people here who don't want to be here? It's the same in life. First thing my sponsor said to me, when you were drunk, did you shave? No, I didn't shave. Now you shave. When you were drunk, did you clean your shoes? No, I didn't clean. Now I polish my shoes. When you were drunk, did you floss? Drunks, they don't floss. Drunks, you smell their breath. Oh. It's like the cat litter. So they smell. They come and talk to you. Oh, please. You floss. You know why? Because God gave you. You know. Have you ever seen people who haven't got teeth? God gave you teeth. Your job is to take care of your teeth. God gave you a body. Your job to take care of your body. I live in Los Angeles. Okay? I live in Los Angeles. Big problem. 32% of drug addicts in Los Angeles are HIV positive. Do you know what that means in real terms? In real terms, it means maybe 10 years, maybe 12 years, unless they come out with a really good antidote. And cost of money, needles, sex with people, 32%. Africa, when I was in Africa, I spent 2 months in Africa. We went to a village, 72% of the village of the males, HIV positive. Most of the girls being born. Listen, there's no way to live. This is no way to live. But if you want to live it, go live it. Just don't mess with me. You know, I don't want any friend of mine, because I don't know about you. I can tell you this, I don't know about you. But my mother's 88, my father's 88, both same age. I love my mother. I had problems with my mother when I was drinking 22 years ago. I love my mother. Don't you ever use that MF word to me. You're not my friend. You go away now. You don't steal. You don't steal. In fact, the opposite. Drug addicts steal. You give. Now that's if you want recovery. You don't want recovery? Go. It's not a problem for me. It's what you want. It's what you want. Because have you figured it out yet? What you want is what you're going to get. It's very simple. You want the lowest common denominator. What is the lowest common denominator? An apartment, 1 bedroom, maybe a second-hand car. You want that? That's what you'll have. Where do you set your heights? Now, I'm not going to keep talking about Korea, but I have to show some respect to you. Because I know your countries. I was in Seoul. And by the way, also Taipei, which is in Taiwan. I never saw any graffiti in your country. Do you know that? In the restrooms. You know the public restrooms? No bad words. I'm serious. And same young people. I saw people, I saw old people, I saw one guy, Mike, 15 years. He finished his cigarette, and he puts his cigarette, he walks. This is in the train station. It's a very clean place. Somebody said to me, if we go to China with you, is it clean? Excuse me? It's cleaner than any part of the United States that I've been. It's cleaner than my country. Do you know Shanghai? Shanghai is so clean. Build big. They have trains that run in the air. And I thought Toronto. I thought San Francisco. I tell you, it's called discipline. Discipline. Discipline comes from the same word, disciple. It's the same word. You are disciple. If you're a disciple of Jesus, or you're a disciple of God, or you're a disciple of Buddha, I don't care what disciple you're of. You can't be a disciple without discipline. And how can you have recovery without discipline? Now I tell you the truth. You decide. How do you live? How do you speak? How do you dress? What language do you use? You talk to me about recovery? You think it's about drinking? Any fool can stop drinking. I'm talking about changing your life. How many steps are there? How many? 12. Only the first step mentions alcohol. You won't find alcohol or drugs mentioned any other step. Only step 1. And then step 2, step 3, step 4, how you change your life. You don't want to change your life? That's okay. Why you come here? But if you want to change your life, now, you change your life. Now. Not tomorrow. Stand up and tell them what you did this morning. Come on, stand up and tell them. It's a beautiful thing. Give a hand. This is a story. It comes from China. How to become a powerful player with God. In other words, how to create your wealth. How to create intelligence. How do you want to go through life and you don't know how to spell? How you want to go through life and you don't know how to read? It's no way to live. Say it with me. It's no way to live. Say it with me. Now, I'm serious with you now. The next 1 hour, the next so, you can change your life. Now, you listen to this old story. But I'll tell you something. There isn't an alcoholic who doesn't need to read this story. You follow it now. How to become a powerful player. There's a young man. And he went daily to his fruit tree. And he used to lay beneath it with his mouth wide open. The gentle breezes stirred the tree. And the fruity fruit would drop down into the young man's mouth. Ooh, he loved his fruit tree. For the way it dropped the fruit so abundantly to him. One day, he went to the fruit tree and lay down as usual with his mouth open, but nothing happened. The breezes, you see, did not blow, so no fruit fell. He lay there for many days, can you believe this, with his mouth open, and still the winds did not blow the fruit down. He began to curse and cry. Oh, guy's an alcoholic. He began to curse and cry because the tree did not give him fruit. There's a wise old man. Wise old Chinese man happened by and saw the young man lying there with his mouth open. He was crying and tantering. So the old man says, "Whatever's the matter with you? I've been lying here for days, and my fruit tree will not drop fruit. I'm so hungry," cried the young man. All of us together now. "Well then, why don't you just get up and shake the tree?" Come on now, say it again. "Well then." Last time, and say it with enthusiasm. "Well then." Now that's what I'm saying to you. Why don't you just get up and shake the tree? Excuse me. You're going to get out of life exactly what you want. You know what some of us are doing? We're so busy shaking other people's trees, we're not shaking our own tree. Hey, listen to what the old man says, though. Then you can get all the fruit you need. So the young man, he got up and he shook the tree, and sure enough, down came the fruity fruit. From that day forward, he stopped waiting for fruit to drop down. Instead, he shook the tree and to get his fruit, and he never went hungry again. I'm not joking with you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not joking with you now. Are you shaking your tree? Because I'll tell you something. Every one of you has been given something. But instead of killing it, why don't you grow it? Okay? And you heard me say last night, I show it to you again. You heard me say last night, here it is. When you have traveled the world, when you have been to Africa and Asia, when you have spent your life growing up in Europe, and now you live in America, believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you this. There are many ways to God. You don't have to be a Christian to go to God. You don't have to be a Catholic, and you don't have to be a Baptist. But you have to be a good person. And if I should not have to tell anybody here what a good person is, you should know what that is. And if you were to say to me, what is a good person? Well, how would you like to be treated? Some of you were crying here last night because you remembered how your daddy and your mother treated you. That's not the way you should have been treated. No child should be abused, because they'll grow up to be angry and abusive people unless they get love and they start to change. By the way, with discipline. Don't ever think that you can give love without discipline. Religion has divided people. When I was in Sri Lanka about 4 years ago. I was in a bank in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, and a bomb went off. Because up in the north, there are Tamils, Tamils, and Tamils are fighting for independence, and they killed people in the bank. Tamils are not the same religion as those who are Hindu in Sri Lanka. Jews are killing Muslims. Muslims are killing Jews. Still today in this country, blacks are killing whites. Whites are killing blacks. Whites are killing whites, and blacks are killing blacks. It's no way to live, ladies and gentlemen. It's no way to live. I come from a country called England. Across only half an hour on a little boat, you can go to a country that's called Ireland. Some of you, your families come from Ireland. Irish people kill English people, and English people kill Irish people. It's no way to live. And you want to know what the answer is? The answer is spirituality, because it's based on respect. Spirituality always unites people. It's about respect. By the way, spirituality also gives you energy. Okay? If people want to sleep, go home to bed. This is no place to sleep. This is a place to learn. It's very simple. Very simple. The people of Anonymous Foundation, let me tell you something, they paid quite a bit of money for me to come here. I don't come here for nothing. In other words, my point with it is, spirituality unites people, but I'll tell you what it's about. It's about energy. It's about when you turn around to somebody and you say, how are you? And if you don't realize it, you'll realize it. I don't have to touch him, and he'll feel the energy. Can you feel it? Human beings have an energy. That's how animals know. So a cat will know when a mouse is in the room. It doesn't have to see the mouse. It doesn't even have to smell the mouse. Human beings give off energy. You give off a good energy, or you give off a negative energy. It's very simple. Every human being gives off an energy. That's how you feel attracted to people. Are you hiccuping? Did you have enough to drink last night? You told me you were getting better. You told me you were getting better. Keep hitting that gin. What's the matter with you? Yeah, one gin. I'll tell you, that's enough. Okay. But should have seen the glass. Okay. Okay. Spirituality always unites people. By the way, the 12-step program turns round and says, having had a spiritual awakening. Say it with me. Come on now, hit me with it. Come on now. You bet your bottom dollar. Not a religious awakening. Now, they could have gone that way. They could have said, oh, well, you know, you need to be Christian. They didn't do that. That's why we've got 12-step programs in India. They're Hindu. Don't you be silly enough to think that the only way to God is through Christianity. There are many ways to God. If you're born in India, you have your same chance of going to God, because God is a God of love. Now let's say the top here. We're talking about relapse. Let's talk about the top here. Say the top with me. Spirituality is the healthy. Now let me tell you something. You want to know about drugs? It affects your body, it affects your mind, and it affects your feelings. Period. That's all you need to think about. All your job is to deal with three things. Improve your body, improve your mind, and improve your feelings. And that's what counselors should be dealing with. It's very simple. Every human being is made up of three things. A physical body, a mind to think, and a whole lot of emotions and feelings. That's why the most spiritual thing, what's your first name? Lynn. The most spiritual thing Lynn did today, you went to exercise. You didn't have to do that, by the way. You could have stayed in bed, and you had an excuse. You got home late. You had the best excuse in the world, but you went right through it, and you dealt with it. Now, second thing is the mind. Remember me saying to you, I've written this book. It's not free. So don't come up to me afterwards and say, I like a book. You're not going to get a book from me. You pay for the book. You already get $4 off. You get $4 off, not because of me, but because of the Anonymous Foundation. They paid. They paid $4 for every book you buy. What's the book called? Say Yes to Life. Say it with me. Yes to life. How many of you here have got a copy? Right, turn to page today. It's called June the 10th. Pretend you're on the toilet. It's June the 10th. Come on now, pretend you're sitting on the toilet. First thing in the morning. You're just sitting there in the toilet, ready to come out and face the day. What's the topic for today? What's the topic for today? Come on, a bit more. What's the topic for today? Here's what the saying is. By the way, Sidney Harris. If you don't know Sidney Harris was an American who was a great writer. And you know what he says? God cannot be a solemn God, or he would not have blessed man and women with the incalculable gift of laughter. It's very interesting. Human beings have the ability to laugh. I bet you any money God laughs. God laughs quite a lot about some of the things that we do. Okay, here's the meditation. Here we go. I think the way to understand God is to begin to understand people. Sometimes we forget that we bear the image of God. Every person in this room bears the image of God, even the man going through the door. Good to see you. Okay. And this is not so much physical as emotional. Human beings are connected emotionally. So much of what I feel, what hurts me, what causes me pain, I believe also affects God. God cries at some of the things that we do. Just like God laughs at some of the things we do. Okay? Also the gifts, the creative intelligence and spiritual sacrifice that have characterized human beings for so long. I believe this laughter comes from God. Here's the prayer. You gave the gift of laughter to be used. May it be used in the precious art of healing. Do you know every time you laugh, there's a sense in which you begin the healing process? And there's so much for us to laugh at. But there's also a time for us to work. This is the time for us to work. Okay. Here's the thing. By the way, just for you to know, in 10 minutes, so everybody stay seated, in 10 minutes, you're going to get a break. So don't start messing around walking up and down. And if you want to go to the toilet, hold it. Say it with me. Just hold it. You don't have to physically hold it, but just hold it here. Let's have a look here. Connecting body, mind, and emotions increases responsibility. You know what your job is? Connect your body with your mind, with your emotions. It's called holistic healing. When you take care of your body, when you start to take exercise, when you take care of your mind, so you start to learn, you know, how many of you here can know a foreign language? You do. You know Korean and you know English, right? What other language do you know? Do you know Chinese? You know Thai? Sabadika, Pomchokumak, man. No? Okay. How many of you here know a foreign language? Just look around the room. Believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, start to learn Spanish. Believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, start to learn Chinese. Your whole life will change. You want to understand the people? Understand their language. You'll never understand the people until you understand their language. Right? Do you speak Spanish? You speak Italian?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. You're Italian? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tell. Oh, Italian and Greek. Oh, wow. I bet you were a lot of fun. Okay. All right. Here's the other thing. Come on. Focus here now. Number two on the list, spirituality is the soul of religion. Say it with me. Spirituality is the soul of religion. In other words, some of the craziest people are religious. And by the way, some of the most judgmental. Do you know, just something that you know so that you get to really understand? People went to church in Georgia. People went to church in Tennessee, where I work. People went to church in Alabama, and at the same time, they were so racist. And they went to church every Sunday. Now, what I want you to understand is, some terrible things have happened in the name of religion. Why do you think the Pope apologized? Nobody here should ever refer to Jewish people as Christ killers. Okay? You set up hate. We're talking about recovery. We're not talking about vengeance. You want a vengeance program, go to another program. This is about recovery. And by the way, you'll hear me say this at the Mass. Don't come to the Mass unless you want to be at the Mass. Don't start coming to Mass at 4 o'clock if you don't want to be there. It's not going to make any difference to me. You want to go to Mass, and I'll tell you something. I was at a recovery home, okay? I was at a recovery home in Tennessee. It was 9 o'clock at night. It's 9 o'clock at night. We just finished a meeting. Three guys in a room. So it was a men's recovery home. Probably like Paul House, except it was men. 72-year-old guy. 72 years old. Struggled with alcohol for years. He's a black guy. He's down on his knees. 2 guys in the room with him. He's one guy. 2 guys in the room with him in their 20s. This guy gets, not joking. He says his prayers before he goes to bed. I said to him after he finished, I said, how long you been doing that? He says, I do that. Only when I'm drunk, when I'm high, do I forget. I wonder how many of you get down on your knees. Too big now, no? Too big, no? I wonder how many of you get into bed and say your prayers. And you wonder why your prayers never come about. Too big now, huh? This is 70-year-old black man gets down on his knees. 2 young guys. They thought it was funny. I walked in there and I said, can I join you? He says, you come here? You don't go to Mass at 4 o'clock unless you want to be there. You certainly don't go to Mass to listen to me speak for 10, 15 minutes. Have some respect, if not for yourself, for God. Go home. God can survive without you. The question is whether you can survive without God. Believe you me, you talk about relapse, God's never going to come after you. God will never come after you. Don't you worry about that. Your job is to go after God. That's your job. I just want to say this again to you. I am not interested in what religion you are, but I'm interested in how you live. Biggest problem for relapse is, I'll tell you what happens. First problem with relapse, you never drink again. No person who relapses drinks like that. There's signs before that. You know, one of the first signs is you start using that bad language. That's the first sign. Second sign is you believe in God, but you don't get down on your knees. Here's the third sign. The third sign is You don't take care of yourself. You don't take care of your body, you don't take care of your mind, and you don't take care of your feelings and emotions. You don't take care. Now, God gave you a life. What you going to do with it? Now, notice what I say. Second thing, it's not enough for you to be a human being. Okay? It's not enough for you to be a human being. It's for you to become a positive and creative human being. Anybody can be a human being. You know? But a creative human being is one who tries to add something to the world. A creative human being is somebody who, like you're trying to do. It is not easy for you to be a counselor. Oh, what's your first name, the lady? Jamie? It's not easy for you, Jamie. I know you enjoy working with young people, but I'll tell you, it's not easy. And I'll tell you something, it's never easy. Unless you get the spirituality first. They don't get it, send them home. You don't need it. You don't have anybody connected with you who doesn't want to be there. All they'll do is take the energy away. And look what I've done here. Some of you need to make the decision around smoking. Some of you need to make the decision around smoking. And by the way, if you've got 1 year of recovery. About 1 year, you don't even think about dating. You've got more time in the world. You hear me? Talking to a Greek, talking to an Italian. Don't go there. You've got all the time in the world. I'll tell you something. You love yourself, and then you can love somebody else. You don't love yourself, you're doomed to fail. And I don't care how big you shout or how flashy you may be. You don't fool me. You've got no respect for yourself. And if you've got no respect for yourself, you disrespect other people. Now, I'm going to give you the symptoms of relapse when we come back. But this is what I'm going to say to you now. And you'll be real clear about this. It's your job to take care of your body because God gave it to you. It's your job to take care of your mind because God gave it to you. You don't want to be a stupid person. It's your job to take care of your feelings and emotions. God gave you feelings and emotions. Relapse is when you don't take care of these. And you allow yourself physically. Remember the first step? Physically you become, what's the first step? Physically you become powerless and unmanageable. Mentally you become. Emotionally you become. So you start losing your temper. Why are you losing your temper? You don't need to keep losing your temper. Why have you let yourself physically get to a point whereby you're a mess? Now, I'm not saying you've taken a drink, and I'm not saying you've taken a drug, but you've taken the first step towards relapse. Can I have the lights on, Jim? Because we're going to... Before you... Don't stand up yet. Don't even come to this table for a card. If you do not want... Don't come. I don't want you taking my card. If you don't want one. Because the people who want one can't get a card because I've not got that many cards left. Don't whether you realize it, we had hundreds of cards go yesterday. Don't take the card and then throw it down the toilet. Just go right away, miss the card. Now, they've got very few books left. There's very, very few books left. You don't have to get a book. I'm telling you this much. They're paying $4 for every book you buy. I mean, you've just got a beautiful organization. In fact, this is a very good time. Let's show our appreciation for the Anonymous Foundation. Walter, Jim, Bill. Now then, we've got a few. Now, here's the thing. Some of you like to listen to me speak, is that right? Okay, now listen. Don't stop it, Mother. We've got about 6 videos. These are the videos. These videos are shown in treatment centres and schools. But they're also excellent for anybody at home. They deal with different topics. They deal with self-esteem. This one deals with religious abuse. If you are a Catholic or a Protestant that has been hurt, if you've experienced racism, okay, this is an excellent video. This is the video that's used in Notre Dame University. It's called Overcoming Religious Addiction and Abuse. If you're a woman that's been hurt, you may want this video. And by the way, I have other videos there too. Now, I do not know how I've got this, but I've got, because as far as I know, tell me if I'm right. Am I right in thinking there's only Say Yes to Life there, the toilet book, first thing in the morning, sitting on your toilet? That's it? That's all you got left? Okay. Now then, this is what he's talking about. If you want to order 40% off